In order to release content in a less cluttered way, I decided to reschedule my edited videos on Wednesdays. Then I looked at the calendar and realized that the next Wednesday was October 21st, 2015. So I will be releasing this video on Vimeo for my patrons on the same day I release the YouTube edit on YouTube. The original Back to the Future is easily one of my all-time favorite movies growing up, and even now watching it, it holds up remarkably well. It's a classic, and while the sequels weren't nearly as solid, they were a lot of fun. But I digress. The point of this video is to look at the future in Back to the Future Part 2 and compare it to the actual future and see how close it got. A quick glance and it doesn't look like it got anywhere close, but it probably actually got closer than you think. I'll be looking at the ability and practicality of the things seen in this movie and be looking more at whether or not in October 21st, 2015 that looks like this is possible rather than if it actually looks like this. First, I'll go over a couple of obvious misses. Bionic implants. Unbelievably accurate weather.
Right now, it's pouring rain.
Wait 5 more seconds.
Right on the tick. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Too bad the post office isn't as efficient as the weather service.
Surf Vietnam. Dehydrating and rehydrating pizza that looks edible. Receipts on transparent blue plastic. Bizarre upside-down hover stands.
You're right. Well, you're right.
Of course, that was before they had dust propellant paper.
The first piece of future technology we see in this movie is actually seen at the end of Back to the Future Part 1. It's Mr. Fusion, which I assume allows the DeLorean to do the nuclear reaction necessary for time travel. We are nowhere near having any device like this, but I give this one a pass because it's only seen on the time machine and not on any other car in 2015. It is possible Doc went further into the future just to get a device like this for the time machine. Next we have the flying cars.
We better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
This was something heavily talked about when I was younger. I remember reading an article in school that talked about how flying cars are expected to start coming out in the year 2000. Here we are in 2015 and still no flying cars. You could look at the Harrier jet and its capabilities and possibly apply that to cars, but if you do that, the area between the car and the ground would just be blasted. Here, there seems to be little to no effect on the air between the car and the ground. Gotta call a miss on this, which sucks. I want a flying self-driving car, damn it.
Power laces. All right.
This isn't something that exists, but not because of any technology issue. In fact, Nike did actually make a replica of the shoe without the self-lacing feature.
This is the shoe from Back to the Future 2.
And to go a step further, Nike also said a version with power laces would be released in 2015.
Does this power lace?
Not till 2015.
It won't surprise me at all to hear them announce the power laces about the same time this video is released. And since the technology does exist, I'm going to go ahead and count this as a win. Marty's new future jacket is rather bizarre. It looks fine when fully applied, but looks terrible beforehand. And if one of those sleeves malfunctions, which seems like a real possibility, you end up with an incredibly awkward jacket. The self-sizing feature, much like the power laces, are possible. So my instinct would be to say this could be a thing. However, there's also a self-drying feature.
Drying mode on. Jacket drying. Your jacket is now dry.
I could see this maybe being possible, but you'd need to have fans all over the place on this jacket and power to keep it running, especially since it seems like you need an active power supply just to keep the sleeves up. You could probably make this jacket, but it'd be littered with fans and batteries. It would be amazingly uncomfortable and far crappier looking than this version. I have to call it a miss. This movie successfully nailed that the 80s would be a nostalgic time for a lot of people. There aren't a lot, but 80s themed restaurants and places are a real thing. So the idea of an 80s cafe, I have to count as a win for this movie. Hell, I won't consider it weird at all if an 80s cafe modeled after this movie actually opened and was successful. We don't have hologram technology yet, but what's interesting here is that the computer graphics are far crappier in this movie than they are now. Also, the reception on the hologram screen is far crappier than you would get with a big flat screen. So I can't mark this as anything other than a big fat miss.
All I want is a Pepsi.
Pepsi literally did a special edition Pepsi Perfect recently, and while it's only the Pepsi throwback in the bottle, Marty does get his Perfect at Cafe 80s. So having it be the 80s formula in the bottle makes sense. I count this as a win. I am tempted to give this one to the movie since the Cubs are actually doing well this season. But the more I think about it, the more I can't. This movie is saying that by October 21st, 2015, the Cubs will sweep the World Series. Maybe the Cubs will. We don't know. And that is the problem. The World Series doesn't even start until October 27th. So this isn't me naysaying the Cubs, but simply looking at the dates and saying it's impossible for the Cubs or any other team to win the World Series before it's even started. This is a miss. Though this movie did predict that Miami would have a baseball team.
Ma'am, you should reprogram. It's dangerous to enter without lights on.
Lights on?
Yes.
While the simplicity of the light switch has yet to become dated, having a voice-activated light isn't impossible by any means, so I'll count this as a win. Also, the fingerprint reader door lock could be a thing, so that's another win.
Broadcasting beautiful views 24 hours a day.
The curtain TV kinda sucks, but won't be hard to set up, especially with a projection system.
Part off. Okay, I want channels 18, 24, 63, 109, 87, and the Weather Channel.
And while people don't watch multiple TV shows at the same time, watching a show while being on a computer, phone, or tablet is actually quite common. The idea that people have just started bombarding themselves with information is clearly seen in today's society. While they didn't nail it identically, the idea is rather accurately predicted. I'm gonna count this one as a win.
Avocados, cilantro mixed with your choice of beans, chicken, beef, or pork.
One thing that's easy to overlook is that in the Cafe 80s, there are automated servers. And while we don't quite have this, we do have many self-service stations in grocery stores, and even McDonald's is talking about installing self-service stations. So I have to count this as a win for the movie.
Hey, Big M. How's it hanging, McFly?
Card. Scan it. I'm in. I need to borrow your hoverboard.
Easily the most talked about invention that people wanted to see become real in this movie. The hoverboard is so awesome that even boys want it in all its pink glory. It's really the hover technology that this movie threw all over that really hurts the accuracy of this depiction of the future. From Cars to George McFly's bizarre upside-down hover thingy, there have been lots of attempts at a hoverboard device, but most lack the key ingredient, being that it hovers. However, there is the Hendo and Lexus hoverboards, all very cool, but only work in specially designed areas. These things fall to the ground without a magnetized part needed for them to hover. To make it worse, Tony Hawk has difficulty using them, meaning the idea that Marty could grab one of these things and use it as well as he does with only skateboarding skill is completely unrealistic. This has to be considered a miss, a very sad, regrettable miss. And while Back to the Future 2 did largely miss, and does even worse when you look at some of the technologies that appear in the movie that have become outdated, still the movie did far better than a quick watch would imply.
The justice system works swiftly in the future now that they've abolished all lawyers.